Hi everyone! Here's the sew along video for our Naomi dress. I love how simple yet comfy this one turned out. I've added ruffles on the hem that gives extra swish to the dress with my every move. So first, let's get the materials. I'm using 3.5 yards of 60 inches width cotton cheesecloth, half yard lining for the bodice, thread, 20 inches invisible zipper, and fusible cloth for the zipper installation, which is optional but I recommend you use. Transfer the necessary markings and notches on the wrong side of the fabric before cutting out your pattern on it. I highly recommend you stitch these fabric pieces before attaching them to each other as shown in the illustration. This is to stabilize the pattern piece and ensure it does not stretch while constructing the garment. I added half inches seam allowance to my pattern so I will stitch 3/8 inch from the raw edge. Pin and sew the back bodice darts. As you approach the point of the dart, shorten the stitch length and sew off the end of the fabric. Do not backstitch. Leave a long tail of thread before cutting. It is important that you press a seam you just stitched before attaching another pieces together. You can use regular iron and water spray bottle if you don't have steam iron like me. Press the darts towards side. Pin and sew the shoulder seams. Press open the seams. Do the same for the lining pieces. Pin and sew the top edge of the fabric and lining's center front pieces. Press seam toward lining and understitch. Pin the center and side front pieces of fabric and lining respectively. I'm sewing the lining first, starting from the hem up to neckline only. Repeat this step for the fabric pieces. Press seams open. Pin and sew front and back skirt at the side, starting from hem to waist. Finish seams and press toward back. Set the machine to its longest stitch length and sew 2 parallel rows or gathering stitches around the top of the skirt. Do not backstitch at the start and end of these stitches. Instead, leave long tails. Prepare 2 strips of lightweight fusible woven interfacing that is about 1 inch wide in the length of the zipper opening. Fuse the interfacing strip to the zipper opening seam allowances. Now, pin the skirt to the bodice. Gently pull up the bobbin threads of the gathering stitches to adjust the waist so that the skirt fits the bodice. With skirt on top, stitch in place. Go slow and make sure that your gathers stay even and your raw edges stay aligned. Press the seam towards the bodice after removing the gathering threads. Pin center back right sides together. Measure the desired length of the opening for the zipper, leaving at least 2 inches before the bottom stop and mark. Do the same for the fabric, measuring from the neckline down the hem. Permanently stitch from the hem to the mark and back stitch. Adjust the stitch regulator for machine basting or the longest stitch length and continue stitching on the seam line to the upper edge of the bodice. Press seams open. Place the closed zipper face down on the seam allowance with the zipper teeth along the seam line. Pin as you go and hand paste each zipper tape to the corresponding seam allowance past the mark on the fabric. Remove the machine basting along the center back. make sure to pull the zipper tab all the way to the bottom stop. Stitch the first side from the top stop down to the mark. Repeat the step on the other side before removing the hand basting. Pull the zipper up and press the center back on the right side of the fabric. Finish center back seams. Pin the fabric and lining together at neckline and sew, starting from the center back up to the intersection in front neckline. Clip along the curved portions of the neckline seam. Be careful not to clip through the stitches. Then press seam allowances to the lining and understitch. Pin the edges of fabric and lining at center back one side at a time. Make sure the zipper is lying flat in between before sewing. Repeat this on the other side of center back. Set the machine to its longest stitch length and sew 2 parallel rows of gathering stitches on the sleeve cap. Do not backstitch at the start and end of these stitches. Instead, leave long tails. Stitch underarm seams, then finish the seam and press toward the back. For the casing of the elastic, fold under the raw edge of the hem and stitch the casing down close to the edge, leaving a hole big enough to insert your elastic. Wrong side up and with the armhole towards you. Pin sleeve to armhole right sides together. Place pins at underarm seams, shoulder seams and notches. From notches on both sides, pull up bobbin threads. Distribute the ease evenly between the pins before sewing. Finish seam and press towards sleeve. It's time to attach lining to the fabric. Fold and press the hem allowance of the lining. Stitch the folded edge in place. But for cleaner finish, I prefer to do slip stitch. Now for the ruffles that I added to the hem, sew together the end of it and finish seams. I use a rolled hem presser foot to hem the ruffle faster. If you haven't used one before, I highly suggest you try because it's such a breeze to finish hemming with the help of it. Sew 2 parallel rows of gathering stitches around the top of the ruffle. Pin the ruffle to the skirt and adjust so that it fits the skirt before sewing. Finish the seam and press toward the skirt. Pull the threads used together before pressing the seam again toward skirt. And there you have it. We've made it, a simple yet lovely dress. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you again on my next video. Bye!